Well, Filmhouse was the conclusion of many years of planning and hope from a variety of people in the city. The Edinburgh Film Guild had been set up back in 1929. They'd given birth to the festival, the film festival, back in 1947. And Filmhouse came about after a lot of effort in 1978, working with the then Scottish Film Council and the City Council to go, how can we get our own dedicated, at that point, what they were called was regional film theatre. And so what is now Cinema 2 was the first cinema that opened back in 1978. And then the Cinema 1 and the Cafe Bar officially were opened in 1985, and then Cinema 3 came along in 1999. It's a very strange one because you're going 1978. They get the facilities, they open the building up fully. The official opening, Duke of Edinburgh, everyone very happy in 1985. But within a matter of 4 or 5 years, the board and the executive at the time recognised that the building wasn't going to be appropriate for the long term, and so that was the beginning of a conversation about what would be appropriate for the long term. And all that's happened in between times is the building has become even less appropriate, as simple things like disability access stopped being a nice thing to have but became absolutely critical to have. Adapting a 190-year-old Georgian church with various add-on buildings to be fully accessible was just one of the very many issues the organisation had. But secondly, it just didn't have the venue space that it needed. It was increasing its audience, it was increasing the range of films it was showing, reaching a much broader range of audiences, and everything from community-based activity with schools and talent development activity. It just didn't have the space to do everything it wanted to do. And so from that point on, it was how do we get to what we need? And that then started a whole process of, well, what would it look like? Is it converting the existing space? Is it finding a new space? Is it working with other partners? And so on. And so fast forwarding 30 years, we've got to the point where all of those different issues have been concluded, and hence the proposal that we've got for Festival Square. The challenge that we've had in looking for either a new building or converting the existing space, the existing building is a Grade B listed building. So we spoke to Historic Environment Scotland and Edinburgh City Council Planning Department, and they made it very clear that we had to keep the church, the main building where Cinema 1 and the Cafe Bar is. And so we looked at, well, if we could build above it and behind it and all kinds of things, and it came up with a really interesting solution. It just wasn't workable operationally. So you would have stacked cinemas at the rear of the building. You would actually need more staff to manage the space as opposed to it being done more efficiently. Other sites included at the canal side at Fountain Bridge, at the top of Leith Walk, the Piccadilly Place roundabout. We've active discussion with the university about the Potter Row site. All came and went, but what we recognised quite early on was that it needed to be central, it needed to be accessible. We didn't want to, in effect, put ourselves in the same position as we were in 40 years ago of taking over an old building and converting an old building and ending up with the same compromises and problems that then would mean that a further 10 years down the line you're going, well, how do we make this building fit for purpose? The ideal solution is new build, somewhere central, but somewhere which is in itself accessible both physically but crucially emotionally as well. And one of the key bits of feedback we've had from repeated audience surveys from the existing Filmhouse is they want it to be a dedicated space, they want it to be emotionally accessible, but they want it to be comfortable. And the one thing that we really struggle to do in the existing building is make it comfortable. The seats are narrow, there's not enough leg room, there aren't enough toilets, the toilets we do have are too small, lift spaces too small, we've got multiple ground floors, and you're going, how do we address all of those things as we look at a new space? And so the solution for Festival Square is that we put all the auditoria on one level, but that's underground. And so you get to that level -2, and you can access all the cinema spaces very easily. You can access the toilet facilities very easily. And it's not just the toilet facilities are big enough, there's lots of them. The seats are big enough, there's lots of them. And so we will double the number of seats across 5 main auditoria compared to the 3 that we have at the moment. But crucially, there's going to be leg room and bottom room and enough time and space to go other places. So Filmhouse as a cinema, has always been much more than just a cinema. So whether it was 1 screen, 2 screen, 3 screens as it became, it's had meeting spaces, it hosts many other film festivals as well as other special seasons and events year round. And it's obviously home to Edinburgh International Film Festival. The challenge with hosting all that other activity is there just isn't the space to do it justice. And when we do bring other activity in, it squeezes out the main programme activity of the existing Filmhouse. So in normal times, in the autumn period, we host many other smaller film festivals, French Film Festival, African Motion, Take One Action, and so on. But in hosting them, it means that there's less space for the main programme to be shown. Those festivals also are wanting, as the Edinburgh International Film Festival wants, seminar spaces, workshop spaces, education spaces, learning spaces, as well as just spaces for meeting and greeting, receptions and so on. And we just don't have that capacity in the existing building. And again, what was underlying our ambition for the new building is all of those different needs were being catered for. COVID has obviously had a massive impact on so many people's lives. And I think one of the things that we have challenged ourselves with through the whole process, and we launched the pre-application consultation process, which is the public consultation, the week before we shut down Filmhouse. We didn't know we were going to shut down Filmhouse at that point, but it was 10th of March, and within 8 days we'd shut down the building for the next 5 months. I think two things. The impact of COVID will get over, and by the time the new building is in place, with the fairest of winds, it's 5 years away. So we're planning for a long term here. The second bit is the impact on cinema, and what you're looking at the moment is an awful lot of cinemas across not just Scotland or the UK, but across the world, having to adapt themselves to what a future world might look like, because film distributors are increasingly releasing their films through streaming platforms and other online routes. Where I think Filmhouse and the new Filmhouse will continue to play a really important part is that choice of film, that curated film, is going to be required whatever. People's desire for communality is going to be there whatever. Probably the biggest frustration everyone has over the last few months of COVID is we've all been isolated from each other. Our normal networks, yes, we're having meetings on Zoom or catching up with families on Zoom or Skype or phone or whatever, but nothing beats actually seeing real human beings in 3 dimensions. And from my side, nothing beats sitting in a big dark space with a bunch of strangers watching a film you've got no idea about, playing out in front and just being part of that communal experience of enjoyment or fear or terror or excitement or dismay, whatever you're seeing on screen, just challenging your emotions. It's great. So we've set out our plans very clearly, which is we've spoken with the City Council. They are happy for us to explore utilising Festival Square to construct a new building. And they said they would start the conversations about the detail of that deal once we got planning permission. And so we're doing it very sequentially. So stage 1 is getting the planning permission. Very simply, all the issues that we've had, we still have as a bare minimum for the 5 years until we get a new building, even if we get planning permission. So one of the key things we're looking at is what happens next anyway. But secondly, if we don't get planning permission, the issues are still there. So then it just becomes, what do we do? And I think the question is for us, but it's also for Edinburgh and for Scotland, is, well, what do you want? Because the reality is, if we can't develop a new space, then the fundamental issues this building has are still going to be there. We've set out why we think this is the best alternative and the best option for the future. And so it then becomes, I think, a different kind of public debate about what kind of future for film we actually want in this city.